Have you ever been in a situation where someone brings over something to your house, whether it's chips or cookies or something that you feel a little bit out of control around, and then they leave it at your house, and all of a sudden you're sort of fighting this internal battle, being like, I can't eat this, I can't eat this, and then you're standing in front of the cupboard, shoving it all in your face, only to end up, putting it in the trash just to stop yourself from eating it? So if this is something you struggle with, I am going to tell you a quick little story about my own recovery, just to sort of help give you some motivation and some peace of mind about this. So for the longest time, when I was living with my mom, I was very adamant that her and her boyfriend not stock the house with different kinds of foods, whether it was like desserts or, cheeses or crackers or whatever it is that I felt out of control around. I would beg them not to put these foods in the house. If they brought home these foods, I would freak out. I would always throw them away. I was very, very mean and aggressive about it. And it was something where I just felt so insecure. I felt so anxious and stressed out and threatened. Like my well-being was being threatened, and that by bringing home these foods, it was a personal attack against me. Same thing with living with roommates. I felt very uncomfortable and anxious and out of control when my roommates would bring home foods and be like, hey, help yourself, like here's candy or here's chips or whatever it is that were off limits for me. I would freak out and not really know what to do. And then all of a sudden it'd be in the middle of the night and I'd be binge eating in the kitchen because I couldn't control these foods. If that is something that you relate to, I totally understand. And I had this aha moment this morning that I really wanted to share with you guys. I am making an effort to make more casual and personal videos like this that aren't as scripted or done up. As you can see, I'm not wearing makeup. I kind of just threw my camera up for you guys. I hope you like this. The reason why this came to mind is I have my little cousin staying with me for the next few weeks. As I was putting away like Oreos and chips and things like that from my photo shoot yesterday, which you guys, I have a photo shoot coming that you are going to love, but I noticed as I was putting these foods away that I had no desire to eat them. As I was putting them away, I noticed that the girls had gone to the store and bought foods that in the past would have really been triggering for me. The fact that they are in my kitchen right now, I have absolutely no desire to eat them, was such an aha moment and sort of a recovery win for me, because with intuitive eating, you will find that once you give yourself permission to eat these foods, you no longer obsess over them. Now, one thing I really want to make clear is that this is not going to happen right away. So if you're on your intuitive eating journey and you have just started to give yourself permission around foods, then you may notice yourself overeating, binge eating, and emotional eating the very foods that you've tried to restrict. And that is okay. Not only is that okay, but that's actually necessary. So for a lot of people who start intuitive eating and diet recovery, what happens is you come into it after restricting, going on some probably exhausting diet that just doesn't work, because it's always this sort of breaking point of like, nothing is working and I've been binging for a while, or I've been restricting, just started to binge and realized that this just isn't working anymore. Once you start to give yourself permission around foods, while some people have been binging for so long that this permission sort of helps curb the binging, because all of a sudden you're like, wait, I am no longer restricting these foods for good. I can eat them whenever I want. So like, do I really want them right now? And the answer is usually, nah, not really. Maybe I'll want them tomorrow, in which case, yeah, eat them tomorrow. Like, who cares? So for some people, that happens immediately. For other people, there really is this sort of backswing, right? So when you've been, and this is my stand-in pendulum right now, because I need to just buy a pendulum. When you've been restricting, so let's say this is your diet, right? This is the Whole30, this is whatever diet you've been on. And then you go, this over here is your binge, okay? So what we do when we're on the diet cycle is we diet, and then we binge, and we fly right through center, and then we binge again, and then fly right through center, and there is no center. We're on this pendulum forever. But watch what happens when I restrict, and then I binge. Wait, they're not separated. Okay. Watch what happens when I restrict and then binge.
Okay.
Obviously, this works better with a real pendulum, but here we are. We've settled down into the center, and we kind of are always swaying back and forth because there is no true center, right? There is no like perfect every single day. And that's the whole point, is we're trying to get past this whole idea that there is a perfect. But what we did see happen is that the binging settled to a fluctuation at the very bottom, at the center here. When we get past this initial binge that we have to go through, that a lot of people have to go through, then you start to settle in this middle point of like, all right, well, I had my sort of love affair with all the foods that I've restricted, and I've really overeaten them. I've really let myself eat these foods. This is something that you realize is not sustainable either. It's not something you want to do every day for the rest of your life. It's exhausting to overeat consistently. And so eventually you end up sort of in this center ground where sometimes you overeat, of course. Sometimes you eat a little less because you're not as hungry one day or whatever it is, you know. But for the most part, you're hovering around this center. And that is where the recovery happens. That's what we're looking for, right? Is this sort of hover around the center. What I want to encourage is that when you're hearing my story, when you're hearing me say, I have all of these foods that used to make me feel so anxious and stressed and overwhelmed in the kitchen right now, and I have no desire to eat them, what I don't want you to do is say, wow, how does she do that? I wish I had that kind of self-control, or I wish I had that kind of, like, why isn't my recovery there? I give myself unconditional permission, but all I want to do is eat. Or maybe you still haven't given yourself unconditional permission and you're still binging and restricting, and that's okay. My point here is that I really, really want you to be mindful and compassionate with where you're at right now. So if you're at the point where you're still dieting and you're still struggling with emotional and binge eating, that's okay. If you're at the point where you're working on intuitive eating and find yourself binging a lot, but you're still trying to give yourself permission and be self-compassionate, that's okay. You are exactly where you need to be. I took so many years to get to this point, and everyone's journey is different. So I want you to be mindful of the fact that even if you listen to me or listen to other people talk about their experience with diet recovery, their experience is not going to be your experience. Your experience is very unique and individualized, and I want to encourage you to just be okay and comfortable, but know that this middle ground that we're looking for, this hover around the center, is possible. It does exist, and it will exist for you if you continue on this journey. If you continue to not respond to binge eating with more restriction, but allow yourself that permission to binge and emotional eat, and then eventually trust your body that it will find its center. You will find that happy place, that peace, that comfort around all foods, and that openness to incorporate all foods into your lifestyle in a way that is healthy and positive for you. So that's my little message today. I hope you enjoyed this. So for today's prompt, I want you to let me know below what your biggest takeaway from this video is, and if you want me to make more sort of casual story videos like this. Make sure to subscribe to my channel, and if you want to learn more about my diet recovery and get tips for body image and healing your relationship with food, definitely go to the description below to sign up for my newsletter on my website, and I will talk to you guys soon.